Blog Talk Radio.
No weapons of mass destruction were found.
Are you kidding me? Do you buy that? There were.
I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white.
Come on, let's shoot.
He would always
Claire.
ring the bell, bang, 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 bang.
Hey, I need to get the brass to drop ramps. I got a wounded girl. We need to take the rest of mile.
Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle.
That's right.
The main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. It turns out he didn't, but he had the capacity to make weapons of mass destruction. But I also talked about the human suffering in Iraq.
Hello, boys and girls. I have a special message for you from the President of the United States. I salute the boys and girls who are buying United States savings.
You walk into this room at your own risk, because it leads to the future. Not a future that will be, but one that might be. This is not a new world. It is simply an extension of what began in the old one. It has patterned itself after every dictator who has ever planted the ripping imprint of a boot on the pages of history since the beginning of time. It has refinements, technological advances, and a more sophisticated approach to the destruction of human freedom. But like every one of the superstates that preceded it, it has one iron rule. Logic is an enemy and truth is a menace.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlines. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activity.
All right, everybody, Joseph Gibson here, podcasting live worldwide here, understanding the times in which we live today. I saw a bunch of callers drop, and then they call back in. I don't know why, but I do see people on the call board here. But so if you hear my voice, you're called in, then obviously you're connected in. But I saw a bunch of people call in and then drop for some reason. I guess they're probably trying to go to the chat room or something, or they don't like the intro. I don't know. But I have to play an intro because I have callers that I have to line up that some people just cannot get on here live. Excuse me. Over the years, I've had a lot of, I guess you could say, elderly people that like to listen to the show, believe it or not. Some have passed away. One of them actually was my grandfather. He listened to the show. Joe from Sebastian, Florida. He used to listen. If you go back in the archives, listen to the show. He used to call in, and years ago. And he passed away actually. We buried him last week. So Joseph Gibson's. I guess I'm the third. So that's my grandpa, my son. I mean, that would be his great grandpa. So anyway, he's passed away. And then we had Mike from Wisconsin, if you remember correctly. Mike, dairy farmer from Wisconsin. He was a big part of the show. One of the original people that called in. So that's why I do that. So I play an intro because I have to call some of these people. And then, of course, my grandmother's listening tonight. She's still around. My grandmother, she's in her 80s. She's up in Connecticut. I'm not going to say where exactly, and I'm not going to say what her area code is because you trollers out there, you just don't give up. You just continue to try to harass me and harass my family, harass my friends, and, what's your gain here? None of you have accomplished nothing over all these years. You've accomplished nothing except wasting your own time. But anyway, tonight we got a good show. We're going to talk about CPS, hopefully. And I do have a guest here that wanted to come on to the show. He says he's got some things he wants to talk about and participate in tonight's podcast. And I always put that out there on social media. I always ask people, I say, hey, if you want a voice, this is the platform to come to. If you want something to talk about, or if you want to bring an issue to the forefront, and if look, man, we call people live on this show. We'll put them on the spot. When people know they're on the radio or they're on the podcast, you'd be surprised how they act. They act differently, especially when you put them on the spot. And we've called police departments. We called the National Guard. We called Kamala Harris many times. Remember when they were running for president? To get nominated there, we called Kamala Harris, Swadwell, all them punks, all them criminals. We called them all. And their offices did what they do best. They lie. And we put them on the spot, and they made themselves out to be liars. We even called the Federal Reserve Banking Cartel, and they flat out threatened me live on this show. We're going to take care of you, buddy boy. Don't you ever do that. Put us out there, because they own everything. They own you. They own me. They own all the land. They own everything. Okay? They own they control you. And that's a fact. They own your children. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight, CPS, right? Social service, hey, listen, you smack your kid on the rear end, hey, bad boy, don't do that. Don't do that. What happens when he goes to school? My daddy, he slapped me on the behind. Whoop, teacher. Oh, you just sit down there. Goes to the office. He makes a report, to the counselor there, the school psychologist, whoever, school psychologist, oh, my Lord. Sits down, goes to her little laptop there, and right to social services. Next thing you know, you got CPS knocking at your door, and they're looking through your dresser drawers, looking at your medicine cabinet. Whoa, what do we got here? A box of oxycodone. Uh-oh, you're a drug addict. That's it, and before you know it, your kid, the police are there with the guns, the SWAT team, and everything else. And we've had people on this show, folks. You think I'm joking around? You think it's a game? We've had people on this show. It's happened too. And they're kicking down your door. They're kidnapping your children, and your children are gone. Period. End of story. They're being raped, sold on the market, abused, whatever have you, whatever circumstance they run into. That's what happens. And if you think it's a joke and you think it's funny and you think I'm lying to you, go back and listen to some of these shows. This is what we talk about. People say, oh, geez, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about it? I don't know. What can you do about it? That's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. If I started telling you what to do, I'd end up like those militia guys that were calling into my show over the past year, sitting there inside of a freaking prison in a concrete box with a $1 million bond, or no bond, actually, and then disappear. Poof, gone. I'd be gone. They tried to kill me twice already years ago. I survived it, thank God. Even got a chance to write a little story about it. Just, listen, it's big business out there. Money is big business. Control, power, influence, it's big business. So all you got people out there, praying and everything, it takes a little more than prayer. All right? We got to everyone wants to wake up and they want to stand up and they want to fight against this ghosts out there that they can't see. This conspiracy out there that's, but what is true and what is not? You have to face reality. What is reality? What is reality? Well, your world, where you live, is your reality, and it's not mine or anyone else's. So then you're on your own little island fighting your own little reality, and you can't get no help. You want to know why? Because we don't see your little reality. It doesn't exist to all of us. But we're here on this show to try to bring your little reality to everyone else that's listening, and we want to hear your story and what you have to say and what you're fighting or what's on your mind. And that's why I always say open phones all the time. It's your show. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't think I could have explained it any better than what I just did right there and what this show is about, understanding the times in which you live today. Okay? And if you don't like it, go someplace else. You've got plenty of flat screen TVs to look at. You've got plenty of freaking malware, spamware, viruses on your computer you can click on. You can go down and shove your face full of chemicals at the local restaurant, McDonald's, Burger King, and do whatever you want to do. That's fine. But you want to come here, you want to talk about things, and you want to address, things that if you're worried about the world you live in today, then this is the place to come right here. Understanding the times in which you live today. 657-383-0616. All right, let me look for my guest here on the call board, see where he's at here. I think I see him right there. I'm going to connect him, and he's going to talk and talk about what he wants to talk about, and I think it's going to be CPS. So go ahead, 850, go ahead. You hear me?
Yes, sir. You know, I'm not no expert or nothing. You know, I'm just a guy who was torn apart. My family was torn apart. Fiance, we had our daughter snatched, and another daughter, it was hers. And it was just for baseless lies. And it really opened my eyes to what these people was about. And I'm shocked, to be honest with you. I'm totally shocked. And I think that she had a clue of what they were about. I didn't. I had never dealt with them to this extent. So it's
and you're
really
talking about CPS.
shocking.
You're talking about CPS. I'm going to interrupt you. I know we didn't go over how the show goes and everything. Sometimes I may interject because some people out there are emailing me and asking questions. And so this way here, just please, I'm not trying to take away your time. I just want to make sure that the listeners out there understand you clearly. So you're talking about CPS here, correct?
Yes, sir. CPS, DCF, Child Protection Services, whatever you want to call them, the child welfare, whatever you call that, the whole system is a fucking fraud. And it's the furthest thing from Child Protection Services. Did you guys know that actually a child in an abusive home is 6 times less likely to die under their parents' care than they are under the care of CPS or to be molested? They're 6 times more likely to be killed or molested in an abusive home than they are in a CPS foster care home.
Wow, that's pretty good. I didn't even know that, actually. Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting
fact. I'll tell you something else too. Nancy Schaefer didn't kill herself, and her husband didn't kill her either. They've been doing some evil stuff for quite some time. There's a senator from Georgia. You probably know about her, Miss Nancy Schaefer. She was a hero and a warrior who was about a day or two away from releasing a book and a documentary style show that was going to bust the lid off these folks, man. It was really about to just show everybody what they were about on the inside. And she was killed. Her husband killed her and himself is the official story, but no one's buying it, I don't believe. I'm certainly not buying it. I don't think you're buying it either. Man.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. We've heard about that. I think we touched upon it a few times here, but I mean, if you want to go into a little bit more exactly to some of the people out there don't know what that story's about. I
was just touching base on that, but what I'd really like to talk to people about is something that we can do something about. You know, CPS, they're very, very secretive, and the first thing that I want to outline for us is the innocent parents or decent parents are victims, and we should never sign into a case plan voluntarily with those people. All right, that's my first point. A case plan is an endorsement, and we do not consent. None of us consent. Us decent parents who are done the way Nicole and I have been done. None of us consent. We that's not why we sign. We don't sign because we endorse them. That's what our signature states. That's the indication that it makes. Is that yes, we're bad parents. This is a good group, and that you know, we're glad they came in and intervened and straightened us out. But in reality, they're weaponizing their power and playing on the things that we hold more dear than anything we've ever known in our lives, our children. And I think that every decent parent owes it to themselves, to their children, and to every other child and parent in this country, to our Constitution, and to just everything dear that we hold dear. I think we owe it to everybody to force these people into a trial, because that brings me to my next point is, why so sketchy? Why are they so close, hush about everything? Why do they, nearly physical, everything short of threatening to beat you up and kill you to keep you from going to a trial? They want you to sign into a voluntary case plan. And that's not for nothing. The reason they want you to do this is because if they go to a trial, eyes are on them. They're seen, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a long ways from transparency, but that's where it's got to start at, because if we don't get in front of a judge and make them present the case that they removed our children for, then they have absolutely zero oversight. They are not even checked in any way at all. They're just totally allowed to kidnap children, possibly sell them into sex trafficking. Pizzagate was a thing that come out. I know you heard about that. Alex Jones, InfoWars, talked a lot about that. I don't watch them, but I've heard, just through the word of mouth and the grapevine. Alex Jones was the first one talking about that. Also, Alex Jones was the first one to talk about Epstein. A lot of people hate on Alex Jones. He's brought out a lot of stuff before anybody else that wound up true. I'm just saying.
Well, you're absolutely correct.
I mean,
You're absolutely correct. I've actually in contact with the InfoWars for a long time now, and you're absolutely correct. But the problem, you see, what happens is that people, what they don't understand the concept is that like what we're doing out here tonight is that good people are out there fighting against bad. So therefore, when we say something bad is going to happen, there's already good people out there fighting against that bad. So therefore, that bad may not happen. So then when that bad doesn't happen, they say, see, it never happened. You're a liar. You're a conspiracy theorist. No, it's because we were out there standing up to it before it happened. You know what I mean? I think that's the best way to common sense to explain it.
You know, I never thought about that. That's a great point. I hate to cut you off. You're the professional. But another thing that I do want to just throw into what you're saying there, add on to that, is that also oftentimes it's misdirection, just like the Pizzagate. They say, oh, we debunked it. There wasn't a basement in the pizza place. Well, check this out. $50,000 is a lot of hot dogs, too. And I don't think Obama's that big of a boy. So, you know, there's a lot of other very real possibilities besides for, oh, this was total crock of bullshit. Another real possibility is that they're not quite stupid enough to actually go to the pizza place and rape children. Maybe they say the pizza place because they already know a pre-designed spot where they're going to go and rape and drink children's blood. You know, that's a very real possibility too. And $50,000 worth of hot dogs is, well, that's a little further of a stretch than the other side of it, in my opinion. And I consider myself a pretty well-minded man with a good sense of logic.
Yeah, you sound like you're very well spoken. You understand what's going on. Now, your case now with CPS, though, you mentioned that this has happened to you, it's affected you, and therefore it's has woken you to understand what the system is all about, the CPS system, and a lot of the other systems that are connected and tangled in with this CPS system. How did this? I mean, what's the status right now of your case, if you're able to talk about it, and really, how did this happen? Go into a little more detail, because a lot of people are emailing me wanting to know a little bit more about you.
I will. They will not appreciate me talking about it. They are trying to lead me to believe, and I haven't even checked into it because, quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. Am I allowed to curse on here?
Not really, but you can.
Okay,
I preferably not. You've got a lot of women and children listening, so you know.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I speak with my emotions a lot of times, so I'm not always thinking before I speak. But I'll try to think a little better about what I'm saying.
Not a problem.
But I'm an emotionally driven guy. But anyhow, what was the question again?
Well, a lot of people are asking about your individual case and how this has happened to you. You know, the CPS story. You know, and what's the status right now of your case, and how are things looking?
I got you. Well, I think they're looking good. They're trying to intimidate us, but I want to touch on where you said if I could talk about this. They won't appreciate it. They try to tell me it's illegal. I hope it's illegal. I hope they throw me in jail for it, because then we're going to really think about that. Right now, they have my daughter, my 6-month-old daughter, Pickle, or Nevaeh Grace Bishop. She's my heart and my whole world, and I love her more than anything in the world. And it all started over basically a very controlling mother who was not much of a mother to her children. She was very cold and mean and abusive. And as a grandmother, she feels that the way to repent about this is to just totally, completely spoil and not have any discipline and not teach a child anything about respect or, you know, really give them any training. And that's not what our job is as parents, to raise our children. You know, we hope our children like us, but the more important thing is that we instill into them the skills and the wisdom they're going to need to make it through life, right?
Yeah, well, train up your child. Train up a child, and that's very important. But you're saying the grandmother, the grandparent of your child.
I'm gonna get to that.
That's. I got a lot of emails here that are asking me questions about it.
Okay, so here's the deal. So Nicole has a daughter, a 9-year-old daughter. Her father had just abandoned her when Nicole and I got together. Her name's Ava. So, and Nicole has never been a disciplined parent. She had a 19-year-old child that was kind of wild and just totally talked to her like dirt.
Yeah, and real quick here, I see the call. I see there's about 4 or 5 callers on the line. So I just let you know, you guys pressed 1. Just be patient. I will get the callers. I promise. You won't have to wait an hour. I promise. You will get heard. Okay. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. I forgot to say that.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so I need to speed it up some. So basically, more or less, the 9-year-old was starting. Nicole was seeing the error of her ways, and we started, not letting her talk to her mom like shit. Like a dog, I'm sorry. And, she didn't like that. And she had a problem with this tablet. When she got on this tablet, she had no respect, and she just got totally sucked into this game that she played. And we've taken away the tablet. So she went to see her grandmother. Her grandmother hates me, and the oldest daughter hates me because she feels like it's my fault that her mom won't buy her pot and all these things anymore. And they're sitting there bad-mouthing me, having a bad-mouthing party. And Ava was spanked one time. I spanked Ava one time. She was hitting her mother in refusal to get in the shower after she'd peed on the floor. She was just being really crazy. A lot of it had to do with her dad that had abandoned her. And that was her light, So anyhow, I gave her 3 swats with a fly swatter. And that was over with. A couple of days later, she wasn't in trouble. I just taught her to ride a bike and everything. And she went to her grandmother's. And when they done all this, they got her on the tablet, giving her back these devices, bad-mouthing us. And she told, I guess, that we hit her with a bike chain, which it's blatantly obvious that it didn't happen. And now CPS, although that was the grounds they wanted to use to take our kids, they're now trying to back out of that and use other grounds, stating that they were told there was drug abuse by the mother. Well, so what? For one, that's not even grounds for removal under their own standards by their own website. And for another thing, they have no real evidence of this. So with that being said,
that's true. Yeah. Well, what I want to say is this. I'm going to get the callers here. Hang on, I want to ask you a question, but I'm going to get the callers here real quick. And by all means, you're going to be on for the entire show. But I just want to make sure that the callers know I'm going to get to you. But they said a bicycle chain, okay? And you said, well, that's what they do. Okay, well, they have to go by the report, obviously. She was hit by, but that could be easily verified, like you said. If you hit a child with a bicycle chain, obviously it's going to leave a mark or some sort of bruise or cut, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So there's no documentation. It's just he said, she said type of thing, and you're automatically guilty until proven innocent.
Admitted that she lied now. She is recanted it now. On top of that, but they did try to say there was they took her to a CPS doctor that said they found evidence consistent with physical abuse, and they told Nicole they would answer all of her questions, any questions she had. So I texted them very simply. I said, okay, can I see the evidence of abuse? And they said that I'd have to go get it, I said, okay, well, can you just answer me this? The evidence you have of physical abuse, would it also be consistent of minor injuries commonly sustained by a young child that was learning to ride a bicycle? And then they told me that everything had to be subpoenaed.
Kangaroo court. Yep. And this conversation you're having, with this individual there, what was it, a hearing or something? You're having a conversation. They said evidence.
This is some text.
Unreal.
But there's a lot to say about all this. If you got callers, I do want to make sure.
I want you to continue on. Yeah, I want the callers to queue in here. Yeah, and let's get to them. But we got plenty of time here. Just leave that story right there, and we'll see what the first caller has to say. Yeah, 251. Go ahead, 251. 251. Go ahead. Area code 251. Area code 251.
Okay,
go ahead.
This is Akshita Veda.
Oh yes, go ahead.
I was just listening, and I'm interested in hearing more about this situation. And what's different tonight. Hello, how are you, caller?
I'm great.
What's different tonight is this is coming from a father's perspective.
Go ahead, Archiveta, go ahead. You can't talk over each other. You got to remember there's like a half a second lag time, so it lags. There's a little bit. That means it'll be a little overrun. So just remember that. Okay, go ahead, Archiveta. Go ahead.
That was my fault. Okay, that was my fault. But I just wanted to say I agree with what the caller was saying, that all children need to be taught with some form of discipline where it's structured, where the children don't get out of hand and think that they can overpower the mother or father in the home. There should be some form of respect that's instilled within the children, but that doesn't come with, abuse. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. And I just wanted to say I appreciate the fact that you are on here speaking from a father's perspective. This is what we don't hear. So, Joe, great job for bringing the dad on so we can hear what dads got to say and how much dads love their children and how much dads want to fight for their children. So I'm listening. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll leave your line open, but thank you much. I appreciate it. 843, area code 843. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
What do we got on tonight?
Well, what do we got on? Well, if you weren't listening, I can't recap the entire 25 minutes here. But we're talking about CPS and one family, their children were taken away from them. So we're tackling the issue of CPS tonight and the control CPS has over, basically everyone's children.
Oh, like they can just CPS can just come in and just take kids without notice.
Sure. Why? Yeah. What do you mean without notice? What do you mean? What are you trying to ask me?
Like the kid, they can just they just knock on the door, they come in and then just take the kids away.
They just don't go around knocking on
accusations.
Yeah, false accusations. So, sir, let me explain it like this then.
It's kind of like swatting, right? I'm not really on the whole CPS movement thing.
Well, that's fine. Do you have any? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you have any children?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, so therefore you really couldn't possibly understand, and it's very difficult to explain that to people. Yeah, if you had a child and just say, for instance, Well, let me explain it to you. Let me explain to you what could happen, and then you give me an answer if you agree with it or not. How about that? Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just say you meet a girl and you have a child with her, and you're in love, and you're in an apartment together, and your mother comes over, and your mother and you don't get along too well, but she's going to babysit for you. Let's just say, and your mom babysits for you, and you come home with your wife, and blah blah blah. Okay, thanks, Mom, for babysitting, and your mom, who doesn't like you too much, decides to make an anonymous tip. Saying that she doesn't think that your child is being taken care of very well, and she suspects maybe possibly abuse. And by the way, you used drugs when you were a teenager in high school, maybe, or you may smoke marijuana or what have you. There's possible drug use in the house. Guess what?
Yeah.
Your child is going bye-bye. Okay. Without any trial, without any evidence hearing, bye-bye. Mm-hmm. And so what do you think about that?
They need to do background checks and crap like that.
Well, background check. I mean, what's a background check going to prove? Does a background check going to prove you're a good father or a good mother?
Well, the thing is, if tensions rise, it could be called upon.
All right. Well, background check. I don't know about background. What is this with background checks? I mean, background check. What do you mean? So what someone did in their past, they should continue to pay for the rest of their life? I mean, I just don't understand what a background check's going to do.
Well, no, the thing is, people can change. People can change.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the point of background check is.
All right. That's fine. You misspoke. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Anything else you want to ask here real quick? Because I want to get back to the guest here real quick, if you don't mind.
We're having a great show tonight. I enjoyed the show.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, 843. Thank you. And I'll connect you back here in a few minutes. All right. My guest here, 850. Go ahead. Continue on with your story. Go ahead.
All right. I first want to clarify what I was saying when I say I'm great. That's because I'm so happy and honored to be raising awareness to these people that are doing these things. But where was I? My story I was at. I was telling you about.
Well, yeah, they took your children based upon a false act, but a bicycle chain incident. You were questioning them,
and they had just wanted to subpoena everything after I came to them with a sensible question, because they don't expect that. They expect us to be so frightened and so shooken that we're not thinking with our heads, most oftentimes that's what they get. And the main thing that I want to do on here is to address the fact that we have to start standing up to them. Decent and background check, irrelevant, perfectness, not even needed. You don't need to be a perfect parent to legally be obligated and to have still be entitled to the constitutional right to raise your child. Okay.
Well, it's a human right.
You know,
it's a human right. I mean, a mother and father have a human right to raise their child.
A natural right and a constitutional right. It is also, they are a violation of your 10th Amendment right as well. But I don't know too much on that, but I've heard it from some very reliable sources. Other than that, you know, for instance, my parents weren't perfect. No, my dad did 15 years in prison. He was a drug dealer. But let me tell you something. He was a good dad. I was always safe, you know, and he never abused us. I might have got my ass whooped a little harder than you were supposed to a few times, but I was in a decent home, and it was much safer than CPS raising me. And my dad did teach me a lot of good principles, faults aside. You understand? A lot of good parents out here have some faults. CPS is no angels. Do you know how many people they have hired that have been later convicted for sex trafficking kids, touching kids, lying?
Well, let me explain this, sir. Let me explain this real quick. Are you familiar with the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act and Uniform Deployed Parents Custody and Visitation Act? Okay,
no,
what I would suggest you do is I could talk to you after over the show through social media. That's something that every single parent should read and understand wholeheartedly, because that right there governs each state in the United States on how parents and basically on, you know, it's self-explanatory. Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Act. Okay, and all the states receive funding and money if they adopt this act. Okay, so all states have to create statutory laws to govern their state to receive these federal funds, and believe me, all states do it, and they adopt this act in their general assemblies. All right, so therefore, read that, and you will understand a little bit more about child custody and a lot of CPS and whatnot. Now. Basically, it's not that bad. If you comply with all this, you know, it's kind of hard to break, I guess you could say, violate it. You know what I mean? You got to be a complete idiot. You got to be a bad parent. Because I'm trying to, answer the emails that I'm getting. Well, what are you going to do if there's, you know, a mom and a dad that are shooting heroin up in the kitchen and the child's going without baby formula, and the dad goes in there and takes the child and throws him across the room, and he lands on his head and he breaks his neck. Don't you want CPS to come there? Well, of course you do. Of course you do. You know, I mean, come on. You know? But go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
At that point, though, you're actually talking about criminal charges, and CPS isn't even needed. At that point, you need to go to jail. And I agree with that. Like I say, my dad was a drug dealer, and a lot of people get this image probably of a guy who's shooting people, and you know, doing drugs in front of his kids and everything. And in my older years, I may have seen my dad use, but I was never in danger, and he was not a bad man. He had faults, and he provided the way he thought was best, which was dumb. He made some dumbass mistakes, but, you know, he paid for those 15 years in prison, and he raised me with respect. And I said, yes, sir, and I said, no, sir, and I knew what was right and wrong, you know. And had he caught me doing the things he was doing, that would have been my butt, I assure you. You know,
let's put it this way. Let me ask you this. Because I don't want to get off too much into a way and spin off into a theological or you know, how we're supposed to, you know, a family value show. But what I'm trying to say is that CPS itself, as an institution itself, there's a lot of movements going around right now across the country because CPS has been exposed. And what is the bottom line? And I want to just take a minute here to explain this to everybody. And because I did this during the last show, and I do this all the time, and nobody ever seems to get it. Well, a lot of people do, but we just don't adopt it as a principal way of thinking. The bottom line on all of this is not the welfare of your children, not whether or not you're a good or bad mommy and daddy. It's what? The almighty dollar. What does CPS get funded with? Dollars. And when they take your children, don't they get bonuses? Yes, they do. And when they send a child off to foster care, that foster family makes money. Okay? So money, and for the love of money is what? The root of all evil. Okay? So therefore, the money The money. We got to stop it. Bring back, we have to attack what? The money system, the Federal Reserve banking cartel, and the money is the greed, is the immoral corruption of money. And that just is like the snake, the head of the snake. You chop that off, the rest of the body will fall down to the ground, and we can step on it and freaking start talking about all these other issues. But go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Amen. No, you're right. I agree with that. I think that it's also, that's harder for me to touch on, and for us as a people to fight from my perspective right now, which I don't have all the information you have. You're more educated on it than me, and I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with me because you've got more than me. But from my position, I see a lot of secrecy and they go to great lengths to maintain this secrecy. I believe that it is critical to their survival, or at least to their survival as they operate today. I think that if more people say, no, I do not endorse CPS, I'm not an unfit parent, and I demand that this go to trial and the judge see why you removed my child. And then we can talk about how dangerous my house was and how dangerous your house is, your group homes.
You're absolutely correct.
Which and even CPS said, let me say this, even CPS themselves said that they see no signs of abuse with my 6-month-old daughter, that she was absolutely happy, and that they could tell that she had been interacted with plenty. Because that was because me and Nicole and I, every day done things to further her development, cooed at her, and all these things. Laid her on her belly, everything that we were supposed to be doing to further her development, to further her motor skills. We were doing all of this every day. She never went short on anything. She had abundance of everything, diapers, formula, onesies that were cute, and it was ridiculous. And
what's the status right now? What are you looking at with your case right now? How is a lot of people want to get to that.
We're going to trial.
What's that? You're going to trial.
Yes,
okay, now are you going to have a jury with that trial?
No, they're not allowed.
So it's not really a trial. In a republic,
no,
a democracy, maybe. Okay.
It's not a trial as I would like it to be, but I do believe that judges are going to have to start paying attention if this gets brought in front of them too much, because they have an obligation to maintain legal grounds. They have an obligation to make sure things were done in a legal fashion.
Lawful. Okay, this is what I'm going to recommend for you. What you need to do is get your judges, the guide to your judges, the precedent, basically, what your judges, how they rule. There's like a benchmark, there's like a little, I don't know how to say it, actually. Like, for instance, in my state, North Carolina, there's like a big packet of how judges are supposed to look at cases and how they're taught in college and what they're when they're on the bench, they like have to view cases a certain way, and they're given advice on how they view it. That's something I'll try to get that information for you and send it to you, because in your state, what you need to do is read that, and this is how your judges are going to view your case and look at it. But it's not a trial. That is not a constitutional. You see, that's what we're going way off subject here. But that a republic, in a republic form of government, you're supposed to have a jury, okay, at any type of trial. You can't have a mob justice where you have 10 people running around with a rope and a noose saying, let's get this guy, and then you hang him without a trial. You have to. I don't know how else better to explain it. Is that go look up what a republic is. That's not a trial. That's not a lawful trial. But you're gonna have an administrative hearing. That's what you're gonna have: administrative hearing, administrative trial, and you're gonna have a judge be sitting there, and he's gonna rule. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. The judge is going to go where the money's at. All right, the judge isn't going to rule. He's not. You're not going to touch the judge's heart, most likely. The judge is going to go for the best interest of the court. Okay, and that court does not represent the people. Okay, it does not. It's a whole rabbit hole that we're going to get into here with this. But I'm just going to say, be careful if you're going to a trial with CPS, because once your rights are terminated, man, it's an uphill battle to try to get your children back.
It's another hearing after this for termination. And I do know enough to know that we have up until the day of the termination hearing to sign into their case plan. And at that point, we would sign in. We just want to do everything we can to get them in front of people. We want to do everything we can to expose it. Which brings me to something.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. That's great.
Pretty important. At the shelter hearing, they wrote in the paper that I was belligerent. I was not belligerent. I raised my hand and tried to speak, and when I was not granted permission to speak due to a global health pandemic that is very life-threatening for young children, infants such as my daughter was, I spoke. I said, Your Honor, I said, I have to speak. I'm concerned due to COVID-19. Now, her 19-year-old daughter, the brat that demanded marijuana money and stuff, she was living with the grandmother where our children were taken to. And she goes off and smokes dope with half the county all the time, And this is a respiratory thing. So I wanted to raise my hand and to address the issue of COVID-19. Well, they wouldn't even hear me out. The judge wasn't human enough to hear me. With that being said, it has now come to my attention that the caseworker in charge of our case is quarantined, and she will not answer questions about why or anything. I do have her number if you'd like to call her and see if she'd be more susceptible to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. But I mean, what, you have her office number or her personal number?
Her personal number.
Oh, her personal number. Okay, that might be something we can do for you. I mean, if you want me to get her on here, are you sure you want me to do that? You want me to do it live on the air?
I hope I go to jail for it because I want to raise all the attention I can.
Well, I don't want to see nobody go to jail now. I don't want to see nobody get kidnapped and thrown in jail. But I appreciate your candor and what you're trying to do here. I mean, I like that. Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. You want me to call the CPS worker? I'll do it, man. Give me her number right now. I'll call her. I'll tell you what. If you don't want to give it, hang on. If you don't want to give it live over the air, send it to me on Messenger.
Feel free to call her. 850-401. That's 850-401-387.
Okay, 9387. All right. I'm going to call her right now. All right, everybody be quiet. It's on the line right now.
Feel free to call her and tell her that that's not her personal business, and we do have a right to know to what extent she's endangered our child.
All right, what state is this I'm calling, actually? Hang on. I'm going to call her. All right, just take it easy. Hang on. We got to do it. You got to do it in a professional way. We're going to talk to her. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call her. And hang on, sir. Hang on. When I call and she answers, I want you to talk to her. Okay? And I'm going to be right there, and I'll interject and let her know she's live on a radio podcast show, and we'll see what she has to say, okay? So just hang on.
Yes, sir.
Actually, hang on. When she answers, let me talk first, and then you interject, okay?
Good deal.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. This way here, we'll do this. We got to do it. We got to set it. Boy, this is live radio there, so, we're not. There's no skits, no plans or pre-recorded messages here, so we'll give this a shot. She may not answer. So it was 9384, correct?
It was 850-401-9387.
9387. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, everybody who's on the line with me, just stay silent. We're going to call a CPS worker that kidnapped this man's children right now live on the show. Here we go. Hopefully she'll answer.
God bless you.
FFN, this is Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie, how you doing? I'm calling from North Carolina. I'm doing a live radio podcast show right now. I have someone who would like to speak to you. We're talking about CPS and his children, actually, and he would like to talk to you and then maybe ask you a few questions here live on the air, if that's okay. Go ahead, sir.
No, that's not okay.
No, you don't want to?
It's also not okay that you expose my child to COVID-19 and won't tell me to what extent you've endangered my child either.
Okay, she hung up.
Me,
she hung up. Okay. Obviously, it's not okay. She said don't want to talk, so obviously she's not happy about me calling. So, she just doesn't want to talk about it. Now, that right there should basically tell you that, look, she didn't even say, well, who is it and what's his case? What's his name? And said, nope, it's not okay. I can't talk about it, period. End of story. So she hung up.
You're a hero, man. Thank you.
You didn't want to talk about it.
Swear to God, man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll put him on the spot.
I'm
no problem with that.
But God bless you.
All right, listen, the phone number is 657-383-0616. If you want to call in, press the number 1 and get on here. I've got a gentleman on here. His children have been kidnapped by CPS, and he's telling his story. And basically, we just called his caseworker, and, she didn't want to talk. So she kidnapped his children. So here we go. All right, go ahead, 843. Go ahead. Everyone press number 1. New callers want to come on board. Go ahead. Or Arshavadia, if you're still there, go ahead. 843, go ahead.
Wow, she just dropped out.
Yeah. That's usually what happens when you put the devil in the light. You know, when you put darkness into light. There's no room for darkness in a room of light.
Yeah, she just got scared. It's like, oh no. And then she just left. You got exposed.
Of course she did.
Like, I think
she's
in trouble right now. Yeah, she knows she's in trouble. She's been found out.
Well, I think she's been found out, but, I don't know what she's been found out about, but she's a CPS worker, and she's, hey, that's the way it goes. People don't, listen, if you got nothing to hide, you don't have a problem talking about something. And that was something that you just mentioned, sir, earlier. Truth is truth. And if you want to tell the truth, you talk about, you shouldn't have to hide the truth. You shouldn't have to, I guess you could say, if you want to have something you want to talk about, you want to hide in secrecy. And you brought that up, deception. The CPS is very deceptive. If you have to be deceptive to achieve your means or your obligations, then that is the wrong way to do it. Yeah, it's dirty work.
Yeah, it's dirty work. Exactly. Yeah, thing is, I just assumed, this happened before, and she's like, I'm not going to get into this again, and she's, dropped out. That's what I assumed. She did this to, other people. There's a lot of stuff
I don't know. I've never heard a radio show. I mean, your other radio shows do this, but, I guess I'm one of a kind maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But, Archivade, are you still there? I don't know if she's still there or not. Archivade, are you still there? All right. I don't know. She was there. Archivade, hang on. Let me hang up on her and then call her. Oh, wait. Hang on. I just muted your line. Hang on. Let me unmute you. Boy, that always happens right when I do that. Go ahead. Archivade. Go ahead.
I know. I'm here. Yeah.
All right. What do you think? We just called this guy CPS worker.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty interesting. I was like, oh man, Joe's going in for it. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. But the fact that they're allowed to come in and take the children without. There's been a lot of good points made about this whole situation with CPS and the authority that they have. And this is a lot of the problem with where we are today because they have too much power within the homes. And so now they done shut down everything because of COVID-19 or they have minimized how they operate. And a lot of children are now homeschooling, but they got these computers in their homes. And they're being monitored on these computers. I heard a story where one of the children, there was a BB gun in the child's room, and the teacher made a report that that they saw the gun in the house, and it was a whole situation. I didn't read the story.
Unreal.
I overheard,
Unreal.
A little bit of it. But this is the point, right? The point I'm making here is the fact that CPS really does have too much, because anybody could say anything, and then they rush in and they take your children, and then you have to prove that what was said about you isn't correct, even if they see no signs, no symptoms of anything that has been stated. They have to remove the children, but then they'll go and place them in some of the most terrible situations and circumstances with zero oversight. So how are you so concerned about what's going on in a home, and you're not concerned about those children's well-being after they are removed from their home? People that love them unconditionally, that they are, no matter what it looks like from the outside, this is how these children have been conditioned to receive the love that they receive. Now, if it's all the way wrong, then, of course, then family members need to step up and step in and get it together. Don't send the system, but the family is too busy in their own issues and not giving a damn about what's going on outside of their household. So then so now you're like sheep to wolves, because there's no support system. We don't support one another. We too busy looking at the difference between all of us to understand that no matter what we look like, CPS can still walk in your house and take your children from you. They didn't say, oh no, that's a brown skinned family. No. That's a light-skinned family. That's a dark-skinned family. That's a white family. That's a pale family. You know, that's a this family. That's a that family. They didn't say that. They said, oh, money? We're going to get your children.
Money doesn't examine race, that's for sure.
Christmas.
Yeah, money doesn't know no race, that's for
Christmas. Sure. It does not at all. So why are we still focusing on those little things when we got these big, humongous issues that we can all be tackling together? I'm just saying.
You're absolutely correct. 843, go ahead. You want to say something real quick? Now bring my guest back on. Go ahead.
Oh, it's me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's on you.
Man, I don't even know where to go now, man. That just got me so excited. I feel so good about that. I'm totally lost. Yes, man, they're bad. They're bad. I mean, everybody can clearly see. They've even stated themselves that they see no problems with my infant child. The older child who made the false allegations to begin with has now recanted her allegation. It's just crazy. And
so wait a second here. Hang on. All right, hang on. Let me ask this question now. Let me just tell you the child that I thought you said the grandmother made the report. Was it the child or the grandmother, or was the
interviewed the child?
Okay. So she's basically saying the grandmother's wrong now, right? It never happened, correct?
Yes. Yeah, but she did say that we hit her with a bike chain to the CPS, but they knew that we didn't. They could look at her and clearly tell that we didn't. It was never in question. And honestly, there's no way they could have believed it. There's no possible way.
Well, let's put it this way. Let me use this. Let me use this as an example here. Let's put it this way. Was she in the hospital? Did she go to the hospital? Was she injured? You hit her with a bicycle chain. What do you mean by hit? It's all a bunch of nonsense. What it is that people want an easy way out of a bad situation. And what it is you said it all yourself, is that she's 19 years old. She's a teenager. She wants to smoke marijuana, have a good time.
9-year-old.
Oh, 9-year-old, excuse me. 9-year-old. Well, it's still the same thing. You took away her tablet, her games. That's my entertainment. Well, as a 9-year-old, I want my games back, and I'll say anything and do anything, right? To get them back.
Yes,
that's what it's all about.
And her dad had abandoned her, and she felt like I was playing new dad. And, she was
she's jealousy.
Messed up about her dad. And he was just a piece of crap. He got a new girlfriend and didn't want nothing to do with her.
See, that's the problem right there. Hang on. See, that's the problem right there. Is the adults out there that are making these children, they don't want to take the responsibility to raise these children, and there you get the snowball effect of total corruption, lies, hurting children, and these children grow up, and then they do the same thing, and the cycle continues on. How do we reverse this? If we eliminate CPS today, if we say abolish CPS, CPS is gone, poof. Would it fix the problem? Would it fix the problem we face as a people?
Obviously, it wouldn't fix everything.
No,
but
not.
I'll say this: they're only hurting. They're making it worse than anything else. Okay, because where dads don't step up, just like Ava, she said all that stuff to them, sure, but and she didn't like me at all at first because I'm a disciplined man. I believe in respect. I believe in incentives, and incentives go two ways. You are rewarded for good behavior, and for bad behavior, there are no rewards. And you could ask for something, and you've been bad. So it's not going that way. You're not getting what you want. You're not acting in the way that I would like to see you act, in the way that is going to be productive to you as a member of society.
Yeah, let me ask this question. 843. You're still on the line here. 843. I had another caller on here. You still there?
Yeah, I'm on.
All right, do you got something you want to say here real quick? Because I know you got some background noise there, so go ahead. You want to get something you want to say?
Oh, yeah, I was just making something in the kitchen. I'll try to keep it down. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. I just didn't know if you had something you want to add into there real quick. And everyone, the phone, we're talking about CPS here tonight. Okay, I'm just going to mute your line. You press 1, you want to come back on, okay? All right, there you go. So this way, background noise is terrible because it throws me off. I can't stand it. But it's just one of my things, But maybe they'll call CPS on me for that. I don't know. But anyway, the phone number is 657-383-0616. You never know. I don't know. They come here. They already know what they're going to get. They already know. Stay away from that guy. Stay far away from him because he's crazy. And that's right. You can call me whatever you want. But anyway, let's see. Again, 657-330-616. Come on, press the number 1. Anyone who wants to talk about CPS here tonight. I see all you guys crying on the internet. I go to the CPS chat rooms. I go to all these places. Everyone's talking about this and that, and I'm wondering if half of you ain't provocateurs. You know, I mean, thankfully, this gentleman right here, he's on tonight. I met him on social media because social media is very tricky. There's a lot of professionals out there trying to rope people in, and a lot of trolls out there too. So you never know who's real out there, you know, who you're talking to. And that's one of the things we analyze a lot on this show, because a lot of these social media trolls just they're not even really real. You're talking to a computer sometimes, you know. So, I mean, you go half these dating sites out there. Go to a dating site. You'll see what happens. You'll get messages from somebody over in Europe that's not, you know, and talking about she's right there next door to you, you know. Just send me a gift card or something. I don't know. You know, and then they got a picture of a woman up there that's not even real. So, you know, it's everything's fake. It's the illusion, the land of illusion. You know, and we got to be careful. You got to be careful and understand what's really happening out there, and that's why this show is called Understanding the Times Which We Live Today. Archiveda, I got this gentleman here. He's telling his story. We still got some time left here for him to tell his story and talk about it a little bit more. Archiveda, I'm going to be back here. I'm going to take like a 3-minute break here so everyone can catch their breath, because I just got a message from somebody that said they want to come on. So we'll be back here in say about 3 minutes maybe. How's that work for everybody? Good? 4 minutes? You need more time? Just let me know. All right.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activities which might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
I'm Jim Tucker. I've chased Bilderberg for 30 years. I'll never give up the chase. Bilderberg's plan for the whole world is nothing less than world government.
I'm not comfortable with that at all. Who elected these guys to run the planet?
They are the elitists. They feel they should run the world for their own selfish interests.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
Bilderberg is making great progress toward a world government, and only an educated, informed public can stop them in their tracks.
David Rockefeller admits in his own memoirs that he wants to destroy the United States. He's a traitor!
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
I need you to move off the property, please.
Some shots were fired.
There's Bilderbergers right there.
The Trans-Texas Corridor is a vital part because we stop here in Texas. We stop the New World Order right here in Texas.
This thing started here. And to save this country, we kill this damn thing here.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to
to carry out a phrase his father used, and that is a new world order.
Your new world order will fall. Humanity will defeat you. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
All right, everybody, Joseph Gibson podcasting here worldwide here, understanding the times in which you live today. Just give everybody a break here. I got a guest here, so just took a few minutes there talking about CPS here tonight. CPS is one of those organizations out there, another branch of the government to violate your rights. Now, people say, well, CPS is a good thing. I was reading some messages there, where they say, my next door neighbor was abusing their child. CPS came in and took the children out of a home where they were shooting up heroin. They were having prostitution there. I mean, the children were never bathed properly. There was a little infant baby there, and the CPS showed up and rescued 5 children out of their home. That's what this person was saying. They want to remain anonymous. This happened in Louisiana, actually. She said, but this person who sent me this email, you said it was your next-door neighbor. Why didn't you get involved? What happened to you? Why do you need the government to save you? And that's our problem. When you're reliant on the government to save you, and you need the government to coddle you, what did Benjamin Franklin say? Those that sacrifice liberty for a little bit of security, deserve neither. That says it right there. You sacrifice your liberties for a little bit of security, you deserve neither. Neither. Okay? Simple as that. So when you sacrifice, you give up your rights, for temporary security. You're going to lose more and more of your rights because that temporary security is never going to be completely fulfilled. Now, people say, that's not true. No, you have to have government. Yeah, all right, listen, I understand. We're supposed to have a republic form of government here, and we're not going to get into that, but I'm not going to give everyone a civics lesson here on the air. We've discussed this so many times, but we're talking about CPS, and they're a branch of the government. Now, what are you going to get when you hire people to go out and their incentive is to take children? They're given bonuses. They're given extra money. Okay, they're paid a salary, but you're given, their supervisors are saying, okay, well, $5,000 for each child you remove out of a home. Now, tell me something. To a 26-year-old man or a 26-year-old woman that's out there partying it up, having a good time, they're young too, whatever have you, or whatever. Or they got bills to pay. Tell me something. The way society is today, all right, the immoral, morally bankrupted, dumbed-down society we are. We proved that so many times on this show. Okay, I don't need to go back over it, but we proved it, that people just don't care. And we call people live on this show, and they don't care. Remember, we called other places, asked them, did you accept Federal Reserve notes? Call the restaurant. Do you accept Federal Reserve notes? No, we don't. Federal Reserve note, they don't even know what a Federal Reserve note is. It's your dollar bills that are in your pocket. But anyway, these people that go out, they have an incentive to take the children out of the home. What do you think is going to happen? Money. They want money. Money is what? You could buy things. You got power. You got control. And we all need it. We all have to have money to survive. You got no money, you're in trouble. You can't pay your light bill. You can't pay your car payment. You can't pay your insurance. You're going to get in trouble. It's designed, the entire system itself, set up to make sure that you're out there by blood, sweat, and tears earning what? These dollar bills called Federal Reserve notes, money, so you can obtain things and have control and power over your fellow human being. So, now you're going to get the people out there saying, well, just eliminate all money, everything free. Well, what kind of incentive does someone have to get up and go to work the next day? None. You can't have that. There's going to be no utopia-free society out there. Knock it off. That's not going to happen. I don't care, heaven on earth, you're not going to have it. The fact of the matter is you have to have an honest bartering system out there. You have to have honest money. So if you eliminate the Federal Reserve banking cartel, the central bankers that printed at will, and you restore sound money, sound currency, the Bible talks about it. I know a lot of people don't like me bringing the Bible, but weights and measures, you can't adjust what gold is worth. Gold weighs what it weighs. Silver weighs what it weighs. It's worth what it's worth. There's no adjusting it. You can't just make it out of thin air. You just can't print it. I believe that's why the founders of this country, put that in the Constitution. Gold and silver was supposed to be our currency. Anyway, CPS, it's a branch, long arm of the government, and we know they're corrupt. They know they're kidnapping children out there. But what are you going to do about it when it affects you? Got a gentleman on the phone line right now. His children have been kidnapped by CPS, and he's out here talking about it. And we even called his caseworker, the one that actually called the CPS worker that kidnapped his children. We called her live on this show, and she hung up on us, of course. Well, I knew that was going to happen, but I just figured I'd try to get as many words in as I can before she hung up. So I'm going to bring this gentleman back on the phone line here, and if you guys got something you want to talk about, press number 1. I will connect you. I'm unscreened, uncensored, and I'll bring you on. I'm going to bring my guest back on here real quick and then let them know there's some people here who want to talk, and go from there. All right, 850, go ahead.
All right. You would ask me a question, or you would ask a question in general right before you had to go to commercials or whatever, and it was, if we disband CPS today, will it fix everything? Of course not. But they're only bad is what I was saying, and you know, because the reason for the question was we're talking about bad parents, bad people who just didn't care, who weren't going to step up and fulfill their obligations. And my answer to that is that no, you know, that's always going to be in people. It's the nature of some people. They're just not worth a damn. But there are other people out here that are good, that are not evil, that are not trying to take kids for money. And even if they're not somebody who gets with the other parent, if there's either parent around, in most cases there will be some decent people who will step up and be some form of role model to these children and teach them some things. And a perfect example is Ava. Even if she said what she said, the 9-year-old, you know, her and I were starting to bond when all this happened. You know, she had really grown to me. And we talked. You know, she understood why I was doing the things I was, and that, you know, it was for her good. She talked to me about these things sometimes. You know, and she told me she loved me just a couple nights before this happened, out of nowhere. You know, and that was a big thing. She was very recluse from everyone due to the things that went on with her father. You know, and it's so just an example. You know, people, we would do our best to step up and fulfill the holes that the bad people left. The good people would do our best to fulfill them, I believe. And CPS is only doing this for, like you say, for profits. And I believe a lot of them are just, they've been lames all their life. They've never had no power. No one respected them. They're miserable, and they intend to spread it.
Well, that could be, if you look at most of the workers, probably. You're absolutely correct. Let me get to a caller here. Private caller, go ahead. I'm going to put you on live. Go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to talk a little bit about CPS abuse out here in San Antonio, Texas. We've had to deal with a lot of it recently. I lived on Ardash Lane in San Antonio, Texas, and one of my neighbors ratted me out to CPS, and I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was smoking weed on the porch of my house, and that was about it. And it's decriminalized here in San Antonio. And my neighbor called CPS on me, and I haven't seen my kids since January. And I actually believe that my neighbor's in the chat room here. I've just been tracking them down online to find them. But, you know, it's very upsetting. CPS can be used like a Gestapo, and it's very upsetting.
Well, you're absolutely correct. They can be used as a Gestapo. You're absolutely correct. But I know you're referring to Gestapo as someone as a branch of army to go out there and take away your liberties or your rights or your property, your children. So you said you haven't seen your children since January, correct?
I have not seen my children since January.
So what's the status of your case now? I mean, what's your plan to move forward? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? We know the problem. What do you want to do to fix it?
Well, I guess I don't know. I'm consulting with a few lawyers right now to figure out what I can do forward. I mean, they've already told me I'm not going to see them back, and, you know, it costs money to get lawyers. I'm trying to find someone pro bono to do it, and I know there's people out there to do it. Institute for Justice is a really good organization that I'm looking into, but, you know, they mostly do civil liberties cases around qualified immunity and instances like that. But, you know, we'll find out what we can do. I'm hopeful. I'm hoping for the best, and, you know,
wait a second here. So you're saying your children have been taken, and you had no hearing, you've gone to court no times at all? You haven't had any contact at all with anybody?
Nope, not yet.
Since January. Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard that. I mean, in Texas too, San Antonio, for smoking weed. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say, if I were you, I'd be screaming up and down. I wouldn't be calling just my show. I'd be calling Fox News. I'd be calling Alex Jones. I'd be calling everybody saying, hey, what I would do, I'd go to your San Antonio Police Department and file kidnapping charges. File a missing persons report.
Yeah, I should definitely do that. Well, thanks for having me on. And
all right.
Again,
thank you very much. I appreciate your call there. I do. I really do. And I appreciate you taking the time to call in and tell your story. Thank you so much. All right. There we go. Private caller there. I was a little skeptical about that caller, but he didn't do anything, off the cuff there, so I didn't want to give him a chance to, get a dig in there. I don't know. Some people, like I said, I can only take your word. You are who you are, and you tell your story. That don't sound right, though. That his kids were kidnapped in January, and he hasn't talking to anybody, or he doesn't have a lawyer yet. He doesn't have anything. But hey, it happens. Hey, every story out there. When you think you heard it all, you haven't. I mean, that's just the way. That's the way it is, man. But let me try another caller here. 925. Go ahead, 925. We'll open up the phone lines here. Hopefully, people get brave here. Go ahead, 925.
It's Akshita Beta.
Okay. Okay. I was looking for you.
I wanted to chime in. Yeah, I wanted to chime in on that last little part that just took place. The caller that just called in spoke about him smoking weed on the porch and his children being taken away and hadn't seen him since January. You suggested that he go and file kidnapping charge at the police department. How do you figure that would play out if someone did go to the police department and file a kidnapping charge on an agency that is partnered with the police, because the police have to escort the workers in and out, so they're keeping a record of this event that's taking place. So it would almost
hang on.
humiliating.
Hang on. Yeah, Archibald, hang on. Let me stop you right there. I don't want to get too. I know you want to add some more stuff to that question, but first, let me just throw this at you before you finish. They keep a record of everything, like you just said. You throw that in there. Well, do they keep a record of it when these children die in foster care too, and when under CPS care? Do they keep a record of it when these children are, abused? Records can be lost. Records can be altered. So that's not, you know what I mean? I wouldn't use that as quite as a
why I said that, I get what you're saying, but why I said that is because they obviously already know that CPS has the children.
Oh.
So
okay.
They would then be humiliated and ridiculed and then called crazy, obnoxious, and then this gives the police officers authority to then detain the parents because the parents are now acting out of order.
Well, okay,
and
out
so
of order.
This is a whole ugly situation. Yeah, so I mean, based on ordinances and how they can use the laws and legislation to bend to their will, knowing that it's a heartfelt cry from a parent, but they don't really care about that. That's not what they're concerned about, because at the end of the day, at the beginning of it all, they're at work. Their home is fine. They are protected.
Okay.
So they're not really giving a care about this situation. So that's not a good route to take. That's not even good advice to give anyone.
Okay.
So I just wanted to speak on that, because if we don't look at things and think things all the way through, we can make irrational decisions, and we can then put ourselves and our children at even more risk and harm due to wordplay and the whip of a pen.
All right. Okay. All right. That's
they're already,
that's great.
these are already slippery slopes.
Yeah, it is a slippery slope. You're absolutely right, and we don't want to play word semantics here. But what I meant by filing charges is this individual obviously appeared as though they were unaware and ignorant of the laws that actually protect them. So that my first step is to go to the police department and attempt to file kidnapping charges against the CPS. And you're right. Will the police department act on that and actually arrest the CPS worker or their bosses and the building itself? No, it won't. But you still have the duty or the obligation and the right to go make your complaint known to that police department and file it. What they do with it afterwards.
Who's above the police department? The sheriff's department, right?
Well, the police department is a municipality. The police department works for So the sheriff actually is the only duly sworn in law enforcement officer, a sheriff, yes, if you have a sheriff's department in your community. So
way,
who's
there's
above
a county.
them? You. I'm going to tell you right now who's above them.
There's a county.
All right. Well, yeah.
Well, exactly.
You're above them.
But here's the deal. I wasn't above them, when they came in my house and took my possessions, my children.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I brought this up earlier on, and there's some little piece of information I want you to look in. I know you like to do research, Archiveda. I know you like to look into things and whatnot. Look under your state, your state's chapters, and look for the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act and Uniform Deployed Parents Custody and Visitation Act. Okay? And what you do is you flip over to – yeah, I know. I could send it to you in Messenger. But anyway, what you want to do is look up –
would you do that? I would prefer –
I will. But one of the things because I forget a lot of things, but what you want to do is look up the enforcement under the Hague Convention. Look under that. And see and then you'll look up exactly a lot of, and you'll start opening up a rabbit hole of stuff and other things, and that what you really want to look into, and because you're asking, who's above them and how, and what's governing this that's allowing these people to do it.
Because that's
what's allowing these people to do it is
because
us.
That's where we got to take the fight to. That's where we got to take the fight to, whether our children have been taken or not, because there's so many children who have already been victim to the system. So at what point do we begin to do what you're telling me to do, go and research this law and look into seeing what they're saying about this, because guaranteed they're breaking their own law.
Well, that's right, and that's what the de facto does. The de facto system, the illegitimate system, it's an illegitimate system.
It needs to be known. It needs to be known by many, not just that we had this conversation and we feel all sad and, oh, poor caller. No, what do we do to really end the injustice that's taking place? Because I could very well be one of the people that don't have my children in my home. And there's many, I talk to so many people, so many women who don't have their children. And it's starting to strike me as almost I'm getting more and more baffled by this situation than not, because it's striking so many homes and there's so many people out here suffering because they don't have their children. That's just that right there could fuck up a whole person's life.
Yeah.
So the system is completely tearing and severing homes and hearts for money, but we still want to go to work, but we still want to do this and do that and all of this, but people ain't got their damn children.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's terrible. Because we allow these things to happen and we sit back idle. Like, for instance, they write these things, these law books, and they say, like, for instance, let me read to you. What's the definition of child here in this section? Well, it says unemancipated individual who has not attained 18 years of age, adult son or daughter by birth or adoption, who is the subject, of an existing court order concerning custodial responsibility. These are the things that we've allowed these people to write up and put on paper and govern us by. I mean, this is, and then I understand you have to have, then we start getting back into the beginning of how all this started. where do how do we want to live here in America alone? We got to start with America, because then we're going to start getting people talking about Africa, China, Japan, and America. In America today, how do we want to govern ourselves here in America? What's consistent with what's happening today, what we see tomorrow happening as, and what we learned thus far from yesterday? How do we want to govern ourselves? We can't just say, I'm a sovereign, like, we were talking about the other night. I'm a sovereign, and I should represent myself. That's it, period. Now, as well as I do, people out there can't even wipe their own ass sometimes. And we're going to allow them to govern themselves? You'll have chaos. So, so then now we need the police again. We need some help, because the 92-year-old grandmother out there who's sitting at home, who worked her whole life, can't govern herself. She can't protect herself. She can't protect herself from someone breaking into her house. She needs help going to the grocery store. So what did I bring up earlier when that lady emailed me about, we need CPS to take those children out of that house? Well, wait a second. That's your next-door neighbor, and you allowed this to happen? You didn't get involved? You didn't go help those children? You didn't rescue them? You didn't help your neighbor? You didn't help your friend? It's up to us as individuals to help each other out. Stop relying on the government.
We have to make a decision. It's time for us to make a decision. Are we with the good, or are we with the bad? Are we standing with the ugly, or are we doing with the, what looks good? Or are we just being good? Are we being good?
We just
or
living.
Are we being bad? Are we a part of the problem, or are we standing against the problem for what's right?
Yeah.
Totally. All together in wholeness. Are we standing for what is right, or is there some one little thing that we turn the eye to that we know is there, but oh goodness, I just don't want to deal with that right now. I'm just going to go mind my business. It ain't got nothing to do with me. But the child or the woman or the man or whoever is being injured at your sight, being turned away of what you saw. And so are we standing with what's right, or are we standing with what's wrong? I mean, either on one side or the other. I don't give a dog. If you look like you over there, I don't mess with you. If you just look like you over there, because you ain't made it right. So guess what? I'm going to stay over here, and I'm going to stand for what's right. And
Who's
I'm just
out
with
there to
that.
make a
I don't
difference?
care what it looked like. Yeah. All we have to do is make a decision to stand for what's right. And we need to know what those right things are.
Yeah, but who determines what is right and what is wrong? So you're going to get people that are going to say that. Well, how do you know what's right? How do you make that decision on your own? You start having that conversation.
There's universal law that cannot be argued with. There's universal law that cannot be argued with. How are you going to argue with the universe?
Well, what is the I'm saying though, we start getting into this philosophical
the air,
discussion.
You cannot deny that you breathing. You cannot deny that the sun rises every single day and it sets every single night. You can't deny that the ocean stops where it stops and the waves stop where they stop and the tide rolls the way it rolls. And I'm going to say with that roll tide, and guess what? You ain't got no control over that. None.
That's correct.
So when you realize that there's some things that you just ain't got no control over, you can't argue with that.
You can't argue with the facts.
If you got a multitude of people, if you have a multitude of people who understand these principles, then who's going to come against the people? The people just ain't standing up for the people right now. That's the only problem. Everybody got their back turned to the mirror that's in front of them.
Well, hang on a second. You said the multitude of people. When the multitude of people become corrupt and ignorant or immoral, what's the scales here? What's the scales of justice we're using?
Just those who are listening, who know something is wrong and just don't have the courage to speak and say that they know it's wrong, but they don't agree with it, to know that, for those people to know that they have support and someone else is strong enough or brave enough or more courageous, more confident or whatever you want to say on that, then they'll begin to say, you know what, hey, I'm standing with them over there because, see, they're doing something about this. They're not just saying they're going to do something about it. They're not just writing memos and getting kicked back and not responding to them because it's too much work. Those people over there, they're really doing something, and I'm going to stand with them because I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah.
Well, I want my children back. I want to fight too. I've been waiting for somebody to come and say that. I've been waiting on you. Yeah. And they coming.
Right. Well, I agree with you. You have to have you have to have a little spirit of resistance, and you have to get up there and you have to stand up and take a stand. A lot of people say, well, what can I do? What can one person do? Well, we got a guest here on the phone line here tonight, not Archiveda, but another caller where his children's been taken, and he says, look, I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to get back my children. And he's doing it rationally, obviously. Obviously, he doesn't mean do whatever it takes. Go strap a bomb to his chest and run into a building. See, because you get idiots out there that'll think like that. What he's doing is he's doing it the right way. He's using his First Amendment right, his power, his verbal skills, his whatever knowledge he has, and he's wanting knowledge and at the same time learning to go out and wake people up. And that's what the power of the First Amendment. That's so great, is that you use that to wake people up, express yourself. And he's doing it responsible. Caller, are you still there? We're talking about you. This is how we started off this conversation. I invited some people to come on to the podcast here. I don't know if they've queued in or not. Press the number 1 if you want to jump in here in the conversation. I'll get you on unscreened, uncensored. Just press 1-657-383-0616 is the phone number. My guest here tonight is children have been kidnapped by CPS. And that term kidnapped, a lot of people say, nah, it's not kidnapping. Listen, kidnap, you want to get into definitions of what words mean. The children were taken. And that's his property. The children are his property. They belong to him. They were taken against their will, okay, and against the will of him, the father and the mother. They were taken. So that's kidnapping as far as I'm concerned. So absolutely. We don't have to get into that debate. Yeah. So that's why I made that comment earlier about, file a report with your local police department. And then, well, of course it's not going to go anywhere. Of course not. Is it a waste of time? No. Because you might light a spark, like you just said, Archiveda, under someone else's seat, underneath their butt, and they may start thinking about what's wrong, and they may try to change what's in their, grasp or able to grasp at. They may be able to try to fight back or stand up and start becoming aware of these injustices that are happening. I mean, we have this information age out there, don't we? And what do we all do out there? What's more important to us when we turn on a computer? Check out Facebook, right? Check out Twitter, social media. The information age. All this information out there, and that's what's important. I would imagine you'd want to go out there and learn, man, or go out there and teach yourself. That's what I would do. I'm not talking about outsmarting God or outsmarting, But go ahead, caller. My guest here tonight. And the phone number 657-383-0616. Press number 1. I'll get you on, okay? Go ahead, call guest. What do you want? What you got? Anything else you want to add here? We got about 30 minutes left.
No, I respect what you were just saying, and about the First Amendment rights, and that's why I'm trying to stress the issue that I'm trying to stress. And if I'm wrong for it, let me know. But I think that it's very important that we all stand up. We take this to trial, and if we do lose at a local trial, then we then appeal it to the Supreme Court, or wherever state they're in. Because again, when you sign a voluntary case plan, there's no way you can really debunk this and make it make sense to me. What you're doing, you're endorsing CPS and agreeing that you were an unfit parent. Not an unperfect parent, but an unfit parent. And that it is in the child's better interest that they possibly be taken by CPS than to be with you. And I'm going to tell you, it's a very rare instance where a child is safer with CPS than they are with you. So,
and you brought those numbers up, actually. Yeah, and it's not just CPS that we're talking about here, caller. We actually got into a little more in-depth conversation. How do we want to change the situation we're in this country right now? It's not just CPS. It's other branches of government. And we've gone over so much here tonight.
Child welfare reform, then.
Yeah.
The child welfare reform in general. And as you mentioned, the money is a big issue, and probably even bigger than what I'm talking. But I feel that the first step to anything right now, as far as I can see, is that we start paving a path to transparency, that we take this to court so they have to be in front of someone. Otherwise, they're unaccounted for, and when it does all bust out, no one even has to answer for it. See, if we get these people in front of judges, then their career, their political career, is going to be on the hot seat if they don't start doing something. You know, if they just continue to let it go.
Transparency. That's key, what you just said right there. Transparent. Making everything transparent.
Transparency. Watch the traffic. Because that's what they're not going to let you do. That's what America's not going to I use the hashtag. I don't know much about hashtags, but I've been hashtagging CPS transparency, watch the traffic. And the reason for that is kind of it's a joke in a way, because no one's going to willingly watch this and allow it. Everybody will be outraged. But CPS stands for Child Protective Services, and it's nothing but a clever marketing scheme for a very, very, very different organization that is not what the common person believes them to be. But we believe them to be that because they are they're so hush-hush. And they intimidate us so that we don't bring anything out, that we sign these case plans and they have no oversight. They're unchecked. And they're terrorism and they're kidnapping. And even if they're not selling kids for sex purposes, and I believe they may be, I'm not saying they are, they might be, but either way it's trafficking, because you've said it yourself, it's profit, they get raises for it, foster parents are paid, everybody's paid across the board. So any way you look at it, this is a trafficking operation. It needs to be put to a halt, period. I'm not saying that we don't need any type of child reform, but we need to disband CPS. Everybody there needs to go. We need to get new from the ground up, and it needs to be absolutely transparent. Our tax dollars pay for it. We have a right to see what our tax dollars pay for.
Well, that's right. Well, your tax dollars really don't pay for anything. That's where we get into the money thing of it all. But it's just fake money. But we think it does, so that's good enough, I guess. I guess we get into that. Preston number 1, if you want to join the conversation here tonight, we're talking about a lot of in-depth things. We started off with CPS here. Got a father on here who's had his children kidnapped by CPS. And if you got something you want to add here about how we fix this problem, Archie Vader there got into a little speech there and trying to motivate people to, stand up and fight, make your voices heard. We do it on this show right now. We call out and we say, hey, man, this gentleman here, he said, I want to talk on your show. I'd like to come on. What inspired him to do that is the spirit of resistance, the spirit of fighting back, a goodness in him that says, hey, I want to talk to people out there. This is a platform. We're given all these platforms out there to speak, and none of us are using them. We're not using these platforms. That we're letting ourselves be controlled and dominated. It's an information war. There's an information war going on out there, and you're losing that war. You're losing it. And when that war is lost, let me tell you something. Then it becomes a physical war, and and if you lost the information war, you might as well forget about it. You're going to lose physically, and then you're going to, mentally, spiritually, whatever you want to call it, you're going to lose, man. You got to get the right information. Use the information, the right way, and that's the best thing you can really do to start. And, I really think that's the best way to start. Some people are having trouble getting through. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why that happens, so I apologize for that. But Archie Vader, you still there? We'll start winding up here, closing thoughts of the show here. If I can't get any new callers here that want to jump in here, they're saying they're getting through. We could be loaded up on the internet, maybe not on the call lines. Archie Vader, go ahead. You want to talk for a few minutes before I start wrapping it up?
Yeah, I do. I just want to let y'all know just how serious I am about how I feel about this. I'm a graduate of social work, bachelor's level, and one of the easiest jobs to get is in the CPS office. That is like one of the most entry-level jobs that you could get as a fresh out of school social worker and also unlicensed, because they give you time to get your licensure before, they just tell you they can't hire you or whatever. So they'll hire you and help you get your licensure. So that's another incentive that will get a lot of people to go into CPS. Well, I refused to do my internship with them. I refuse to apply for work with them for the purposes of what we're speaking on here today, because I know me, and there's no way I would be able to see that without it being an internal problem for me. So I can't. I had no ideas of how to change anything or how to make a difference. So I just chose not to be involved with it. You know.
Well, you have a little more a higher moral compass than other people. You know.
Huh?
You have a little more higher of a moral compass than other people. You have a higher moral compass than other people out there. Some people don't care.
Yeah, well, some people aren't. They're really grown to not care, Joe, and this is why. Because see, I did 12 years in the military and I retired from the Army, and so because of what I had already done previously to set myself up for later in life, now I had done earlier. So a lot of people are fresh out of high school going into college, or the college venture is there. You know, they're coming back from being groomed into having a job and having to have income, because you need income in order to live. So if this is, you going to school for this, and this is the easiest opportunity that you have to market yourself and to also maintain a steady and stable lifestyle, you're going to take it, and it doesn't matter. Your job is exactly what it is. It's your job. It's not personal to you. So this is not personal. Stephanie, is not personal to Stephanie, the CPS worker that we call on the show tonight. It's not personal to her. So she can't have any empathy or sympathy for those who are being hurt in this situation. And so this is a person who was turned a blind eye. People will keep their job rather than to stand up for what's right, because you ain't finna mess up my money. You ain't finna mess up my home. You should have did what you were supposed to do. You should have never had them come into you, but you don't know that it's some vindictive spirit that has possessed someone close to you to put a false charge on you, and now your children are suffering because of something that is greater than anything physical. And so I can get into that communication too, but I'm not going to go that deep right now. All I'm saying is be careful with who you letting around you in your life and things like that, because people will become vindictive and they will try to hurt you. And if they know you can be hurt by your children, they will use them, and they don't care.
That's right.
So you can't judge people whose children have been taken away because you don't know why. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the people, that the mother or the father that the children were taken away from were bad people. So don't be so quick to judge because CPS has gotten involved. CPS is a scandal, and so of course they're going to go with any scandalous accusation that's placed on someone so they can do their scandalous job.
That's right. All right,
So
Ray, I got to get to.
Beware and
I
don't
want to
be
judging. I want to let my guest here, because I got 19 minutes left according to my ticker there. I don't know if I got any new callers here. Let me check the board here real quick. Press number 1 if you want to comment on tonight's show or CPS. If you got something you want to say, I know that lines are full because I just tried using my other line to call in, and it took like a minute. And you know, a minute, it's a long time in today's world because people are in a rush to go everywhere, to go nowhere fast. But my guest here tonight, I'm going to give you some minutes here to wrap up the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I wanted to say first off that you weren't wrong necessarily about what motivated me to want to come on here, but the main thing is for the well-being of everybody and everything that we hold dear, honestly. I mean, everything from our freedom to our children to our personal rights, and just to educate, like you said, And, again, I want to drive this in as hard as I can, guys. If you are a decent parent, not a perfect parent, but a decent parent, and you have CPS knock on your door, do not, this is just my advice, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a professional, but I strongly disadvise signing into a voluntary case plan. That is to endorse them and to say that you are a bad parent and basically to sign an approval for them, that they're good. And they're not good, and they're doing us wrong, and they're weaponizing their power, and they're using mafia-type extortion and brute tactics to make you basically to strong-arm your children from you. They're more or less strong-arming our children from us. It's not just kidnapping, it's strong-arm robbery at the same time. And extortion at the same time.
And just so people know, to recap the show here, you gave us the number of your CPS case manager there, and we called her live. Yeah, we called her live here on the show, and she did not want to talk about the case. She just hung up on us. So,
this guy's a hero, y'all. He's a hero.
Well, that was pretty good, though. That was pretty good. Some people, there's a lot of people that are skeptical about a lot of people that call into this podcast, and they got questions and they want to know the story, and that's fine. I get that. And a lot of people use misrepresentation. The guy that was called in from Texas or whatever, that was I'm not too sure about that individual that called in from Texas. I don't know if really that was really what he was all about and what he was. I think there was a little more to that story. I'm not going to get into it, but if he's out there listening, I'd like to hear a little more about your case there off air, and then get you back on here if you're interested. Yeah, I mean, you haven't seen your children since January. Surely, I would jump at it if that happened to me. But sir, real quick, recap your story, and then we'll start wrapping up the podcast. Go ahead.
My child was kidnapped for false allegations, and they're just a bad organization. And as far as the other things, people need to worry more about, instead of worrying about if they believe somebody else's story, we need to worry about if the reality of the whole situation is real, the organization. Just fact check and see if they're just or not, because you never know which individuals are telling the truth and which are lying. But there's a lot of people making claims, and a lot of times CPS has had to pay money. A lot of employees have been arrested on criminal charges. A lot of the bad things that have went on. So you can look at them. You don't have to look at the situation and try to just dismantle who's legit and who's not. So I've got my friend here. I think this is her. Someone out there from the state of Minnesota here that's want to cue in here real quick. I think this is her. 320. Go ahead.
Hey, I just want to remind you guys, voting is coming up. So in the section where you vote for judges, make sure you write in "We the People," because who better to judge our peers than ourselves?
That's great. Actually, I didn't make. I'm glad you called in. I'm glad you called in and made that announcement. That's absolutely correct. That's good.
I'm serious. And all the judges, there's only one per section. They're not even going against each other for their office. So go to the write-in section and write "We the People" on all of them, all the judges.
That's right. And if you're in North Carolina, make sure you write my name in, Joseph Gibson, for the U.S. House of Representatives, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Gibson,
kidding. If you guys want to see what the ballot looks like, personally message Joe, and I will give him a copy, because my neighbor, a friend of mine, or maybe a sibling, did an absentee ballot and filled it out. I took a picture of the whole thing. I can show you all, it's all laid out and how to do it.
And she did. She sent me a copy of it, actually, and so she's telling the truth, folks, and she will send it to me, and I'll forward it to you, okay? So I don't want to give her information out because, we don't want to make her a target like I am, right?
Joe, I cropped it a lot better and took the serial code out of there so you can't see whose it is.
Okay.
But it just tells you, Minnesota district, blah, 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 but whatever.
Sounds good.
And frankly,
man. You want to make a change. You want to make a change. These judges, that's how you do it right there. What she's telling you,
It takes away from your vote.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyone else here? Jamie, anything else you want to say? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, you guys just, keep your heads up. Pay attention to common law and constitutional law. Stick to it. You can fight CPS with allegations versus facts, de facto versus de jure. Make sure you hold that judge to their oath.
Absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Anyone else out there? You want to talk here real quick? Let's see here. Move down the call board here. De facto. That was great what she just said right there. De facto versus de jure. That is so important. My guest here. Anything else you want to add real quick before I start wrapping it up?
No, I appreciate you a lot. I'm sorry if I was a little bit mouthy, man. I'm just so excited to be spreading this, and I appreciate you a lot. And I do want that knowledge from you that you were telling me I should look into earlier. And other than that, man, just you're a hero, and I might move to your state just to vote for you. You're a hero, man.
Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate that. I've got another caller here real quick I got to get to, and then we'll start wrapping up the podcast, all right? 843.
Good show tonight, but Tony's coming on.
Oh, Tony. All right. Well, we don't support Tony. All right. Well, hey, you like to be entertained. Everyone likes to be entertained, you know. But, hey, listen, man, we're going to wrap up the show. Just to recap here, we took on CPS, called the CPS worker live on this podcast. Go back and listen to it. I know everyone lives busy lives. We've got a lot going on this year, this election. November 6th, man, this is an election that counts big time. We need to get involved. You need to be out there casting your vote. And Jamie just made something very important part to you as you guys just logged in here. You know, with your ballot there, with the judges section there, at the write-in. We the people, who better to judge than we the people, right? So, this de facto de jure thing, you need to study it, learn about it, because you know what? One day it could be your kids taken. It could be your grandkids taken. It could, this is going to affect all of us in this election right here. America is at a boiling point right now. We've never been more divided than any other time in the history of this country other than the Civil War. And you know what happened during the Civil War, right? So do you want a civil war in America? I say no way, man. We don't need that. You know what war is? It's hell. It's hell, okay? You don't want war in America. You don't want it. You just cannot. It's just so hard to describe what war is like. You don't want it. Trust me. All right, everybody, thank you for participating in the show here tonight. I'm going to play George Carlin here to wrap it up. So if you want to listen, fine. If not, thank you. And tune in to the next show, Understanding the Times in Which You Live Today, blogtalkradio.com/Joseph Gibson. Thank you. God bless, and God bless the Republic.
Life is filled with interesting things. That's why I could never commit suicide. I'm having too much fun, keeping an eye on you folks, watching what you do, human behavior. That's what I like. Humans do some really interesting things. Like, besides killing ourselves, we also kill each other. Murder. And we're the only ones who do that, by the way. Humans are the only species on Earth that deliberately kills members of another species for personal gain or pleasure. Sometimes it's just fun. We're also the only species that deliberately kills members of another species for personal gain or pleasure. That's what hunters do. They kill for pleasure. That's us. Human beings. Interesting folks. Murderers. Here's an interesting form of murder we come up with. Assassination. You know what's interesting about assassination? Well, not only does it change those popularity polls in a big fucking hurry, but it's also interesting to notice who it is we assassinate. You ever notice who it is? Stop to think of who it is we kill. It's always people who've told us to live together in harmony and try to love one another. Jesus, Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Lennon. They all said, try to live together peacefully. Bam! Apparently, we're not ready for that. Yeah, that's difficult behavior for us. Not too bright, folks, not too bright. But if you talk to one of them about this, if you isolate one of them, you sit them down rationally, and you talk to them about the low IQs and the dumb behavior and the bad decisions, right away they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education. They say we need more money for education. We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. You say to them, well, we've tried all of that, and the kids still can't pass the test. They say, don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades. And that's what they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the passing grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good, everybody's happy, the IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon all you'll need to get into college is a pencil. Got a pencil? Get in there, it's physics. Then everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists than we do. Education. Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind three things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start, left behind. Someone's losing some ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big, wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media news, all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club.
It's a big club and you ain't it. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you. God bless. To the next show. Take care. God bless the Republic.